All right, welcome to the recap. So I'll go over what I saw in the trades that I took. So right off the bat, I was pretty bullish just looking at the daily. We had these highs up here, all these stacked highs that I wanted to see get swept. Daily looks pretty bad, like we're just in this range, but we were holding this daily rejection block. And if you look at the 4 hour, right, we still had these highs above. Right, we had pretty much three relative equal highs right here, this high here, and we hadn't filled this new week opening gap all the way yet. So it's pretty bullish right off the bat. We were holding this 4 hour gap and this 4 hour range right here. Right. So, and then ES, pretty much same idea. We had this little 4 hour gap, and then on the 1 minute we had PPI at 8:30, and this came out pretty bullish. The numbers were pretty good. But what I didn't like about longs here is if you look at ES, when PPI came out, it actually made equal lows with Asia low. So I really didn't like that for longs. And we did have this. This was a small 1 hour gap that we pretty much edged when the news came out. And then if you look at NQ, it also pretty much made equal lows here. So that pretty much ruined longs for me. We also had already swept out the data high, right? So ideally, we would have left the data high, got a retracement, and then take longs up to data high. Right, so I pretty much flipped bearish after seeing that. These equal lows on ES pretty much just became my draw. And we also had this 1 hour gap on NQ right here. And if you look at the 15 minute, we leave these 15 minute stacked lows. So if I was going to take longs, I just want to see this get hit first. We also had 1800 here and this new day opening gap, so this would have been good area to look for longs if we could get down here. But at the time of open, we were up here, and you can see we actually have this SMT, right? So ES sweeps London high, NQ doesn't, so we have this SMT here, and NQ taps into this 1 hour gap. So it's perfectly respecting this 1 hour gap, and we have this SMT. So this made me a lot more bearish, especially with the equal lows with Asia. And then I put the fib on this leg, and you can see we're pretty much holding OTE of this 1 hour leg on NQ. Right, so after seeing that, I was like, okay, I just want to look for a short, right? Look to see if we can come down to data low. On top of that, we did have this 15-minute leg, and right at open, I was still open looking for shorts because we hadn't rebalanced this 15-minute leg yet, right? On ES as well, we hadn't rebalanced this 15-minute leg, so shorts looked really good to me, right? That's that. And I saw we were holding this 1 hour gap. And then what I pretty much wanted is to see if 930 could open higher. Right, so here's the SMT on ES right here. All right. So we had these two 5-minute gaps. This one here. And this one. Right, so I had two scenarios. Either 930 could just open a little bit higher into this and this 5-minute range, or just dump pretty aggressively sweep out all this and then tap into this 1 hour gap. I think I forgot to mention also, this is way down here, but we still had like all these stacked lows that we left yesterday. And I really wanted to see these get swept. I really didn't like how these looked. Yeah. So, pretty much my draw, just right off open, was this data low, Asia low, 1 hour gap. Right, so we do get this. So, let me go to open. Right, so we do get this manipulation open higher. On top of that, this made me really bearish because we made a new SMT right here with this high. So now we had an external SMT and an internal SMT, which is really good. This high here, and also I saw on ES that we tapped the CE of this new week opening gap, right? So this made me really bearish. Here's 9:30 open, right? Pretty much just due to swing higher. Didn't really get any manipulation to the downside. Left these lows. So we had this 1 minute rejection block, but I wanted to wait for at least a 3 minute. So we do get this 3 minute right here. All right, so here's a 3 minute. This looked really good. I didn't think we were gonna come all the way back up to this 3 minute here. So I pretty much just faded this, even though this was like, in my opinion, really obvious. So here's the 3 minute, and then it also became a 5 minute. Right here, if it will load. Yeah. So here it is on the 5 minute. This was really clean. 2 SMTs. We were holding this 1 hour gap. We had draws down here. I pretty much just faded this. It was just so close to open. I got scared. But you can see we actually tap into the 3 minute and then just deliver from there. Right, really clean. And then come down here. So after seeing that, I still wanted these lows on ES. And I just waited for 10 a.m. I'll get rid of all of this. Swept data low. Right. So 10 a.m. opens around here. And I still wanted to look for downside at 10 a.m. because first of all, we still had these lows on ES, and we made all these stacked 1 minute lows on NQ. Now we were still holding this 1 hour right here. We're still holding this 1 hour gap, but we were pretty close to this low, so I figured we're just gonna sweep out this low. We also inversed this 4 hour gap. So I was pretty sure if we're going to inverse this 4 hour gap, we're probably going to come for this low right here. And here's 10 a.m. on ES. So I just want to see 10 a.m. open higher, which we get. And it also looked really good because there's like no manipulation lower. So this is 10 a.m. There's like barely a wick on this candle. And we come up into this 15-minute gap. So we trade higher into this 15-minute gap. Here's the 9 a.m. low. Right. This was pretty much my draw. This 4 hour low. On ES, same thing. There's actually no wick on this 10 a.m. candle. And we had this 5-minute rejection block, which was off of filling the new week opening gap right here. Alright, so I just want to see some manipulation higher when 10 a.m. opened, and look for either a 3-minute or 5-minute rejection block. Alright, and then I drew the fib on this 15-minute leg. Right. I'm gonna make this like yellow. Alright, so yeah, also like on the 15-minute, you can see there's like no manipulation. Right, so that made me really bearish, and then I saw we do form a 3-minute rejection block pretty quickly. So let me go 3-minute, right. So we get this 3-minute rejection block, which is what I took right here. So it's off of the beginning of this 15-minute gap, and then EQ of the range. I also looked at ES and saw that we tapped into this 5-minute rejection block right here. Right, this looked really good. So I took this, and you can see this actually fails. Right, so the problem with this is, for one, it just taps EQ, which is not great. It would be a bit better to get something out of OTE. And we also had this 5-minute gap right here resting above. So yeah, it would have been a lot better if we got a little more manipulation into at least like this 5-minute gap and OTE. Also, it was just a bit too early, I think, to look for shorts because there's only a few minutes into 10 a.m. So you'll notice sometimes this happens where we do get like a valid 3-minute, but it just gets swept. Sometimes happens. Also on ES, we had this 5-minute rejection block, which we technically tap into, but it's not much of a tap. You can see here we tap into it a bit better. But yeah, we did have this 3-minute on ES as well. It kind of edges the 5-minute rejection block, which isn't great. I do think this 3-minute was valid, made sense, was just a little too early. Also, Fed Warsh, he started talking right here, so that could have affected that as well. This candle is from him hopping on, so really not great to enter right when he hops on. But yeah, you can see then we actually tap the CE of this 15-minute and then OTE of this leg. So what I did is just wait for another 3-minute, and then we get this 3-minute right here. Alright, so we get a new 3-minute, which actually looked a lot better than the first one because it's a bit more premium in this 15-minute leg. And I put my limit here. It's also better RR, targeting this low. Right, no, okay, that's not true. I just targeted this low. Basically the same thing. But we actually don't tap into this 3-minute. Up here, we actually leave this behind. And then we get a 5-minute. So this 5-minute also looked really good, but we also leave this behind. And at this point, I was like, alright, I might not get an entry. But another reason that I liked this 3-minute and this 5-minute is because this 1-minute gets inversed, right? So here we have some structure inside of the 5-minute rejection block, whereas here it wasn't as clean. But this whole leg getting inverse looks a lot better. So we didn't actually come up into this 5-minute. Let me just get rid of this. But then we closed past 10 a.m., which is good. And then on the 5 minute, we also closed past it. And then what I saw is we get this 15-minute rejection block. So we have this 15-minute rejection block right here, which looks like really good manipulation. And it aligns perfectly with 10 a.m. ES was kind of, I don't know what it was doing. It was playing around with this. I wasn't too worried about ES because like this looks super obvious. So this 15-minute rejection block, and I pretty much entered right off of this. So limit at 10 a.m. And I have my stop around here because, so, all right, first off, if I want to take a short, I'm expecting for price just to react off of 10 a.m. I didn't want to see it come much higher off of that, but I drew the fib off of this leg. So pretty much get tapped in on this candle here. And then I had the fib on this leg, I think. So from here to here. And I pretty much had my stop a little around here. It was pretty big stop. It was a little hard to figure out like, all right, where exactly should I put my stop on this? Right, because when we tap 10 a.m., we still have OTE up here. It's not really in discount. But I pretty much just expected us to tap into the beginning of this 15-minute rejection block and just deliver off of that, which is why I didn't need to have my stop all the way up here, right? I just kind of wanted to cover like EQ and OTE, right? I didn't really think we're going to dig very deep into this 15-minute rejection block, right? You would just want to see the reaction to be off of 10 a.m. So we get that, and then I targeted this low. Yeah, my stop was pretty big, but once we got this 1-minute rejection block off of 10 a.m., I just put it above there. But this is pretty much a 1 to 2, and this delivers pretty quickly, right? And I actually could have held for like a lot more, but yeah. Didn't really expect this much of a move, to be honest. But yeah, we sweep the 9 a.m. low, and we keep going. ES still was holding, it actually ended up holding this 5-minute rejection block, which is good. It did edge the 9 a.m. high, which is not great, but I had a lot more reasons to look for shorts based off of how 10 a.m. opened. So yeah, I think this was a really, really good trade. It made sense. It's what I wanted to see. Unfortunately, this first 3-minute rejection block gets stopped, which makes sense. It's probably because the Fed hops on right here at 10:06. I guess he was a few minutes late. But yeah, this also sweeps out this high, which is a bit better. Right, so those are the two trades that I took, and that was also, this was the first trade that I actually faded. I think this was the best trade, honestly, of the day. This 15-minute rejection block was pretty clean as well. Just hard to decide where exactly like you're gonna put your stop, right? Because I figured we're at least gonna take this low. Not sure if we're gonna come all the way down for this low, which we actually did. So yeah, it's a pretty nice delivery. I think, in my opinion, price action was pretty clean today. It delivered pretty quickly. Gave an entry up here. If you were bearish off open, gave an okay entry off 10 a.m. Also, it gives this 1-minute rejection block, which is really nice. Right here, right? So we get this 1-minute rejection block. If you would have taken this would have been really nice, right? For a quick 1 to 4. Unfortunately, I only got a 1 to 2, which is whatever. It's fine. But only thing, I didn't really love this because like we weren't really, yeah, we didn't really rebalance this range. I mean, we had this 1 minute gap though, so looked good. But yeah, that's what I took today. I think, yeah, ES finally sweeps out these equal lows, which is nice. Yeah, so lately I think it's been pretty easy to find bias, right? And find like the overall draw for the day. It's just been difficult to get entries like yesterday, right? It was pretty clear that we wanted upside yesterday, but this was around 10:15. We just leave all these lows. So, yeah, just trickier to get an entry lately, but today looked good, made sense. And I'm glad I caught something, even though price action hasn't been the best. But yeah, we'll see what we do from here. I would still want this 1 hour to get tapped, but we swept all these lows finally, which is really nice. So yeah. All right, I'll see you in the next one.